Are you a part-time employee, or do you supervise part-time staff? You've likely heard about the 28-hour rule, but what is it? Federal law describes a full-time employee as anyone who works more than 30 hours per week. But here at the Y, we have great expectations of our full-time professional staff, and they work 40 hours or more per week. So we've set up our part-time staff as working 28 hours per week or less. All of our branch staff should be working those hours. If you work more than 28 hours per week, you should contact HR as soon as possible. At the Y, we have a coaching culture. We want our staff to learn, grow, and develop during their time at the Y, both professionally and personally. That means that sometimes as issues arise, we might coach someone through that, giving them expectations, helping them grow in their job, assigning stretch assignments, basically what you think of when you think of coaching and growing. However, there are going to be times when formal counseling is required. When issues are grave enough to warrant documentation, you're going to want to write it down, set expectations, and have the employee sign off on it. Now, in those situations, you can both coach the employee and have the formal counseling form. If you ever have questions on whether or not something should be formally documented, please contact your HR department. Our core values are caring, honesty, respect, responsibility, and faith. One of the ways that we carry out our core values is by having open communication in our branch. We hope that you as an employee feel that you can discuss ideas openly and honestly, give feedback to your supervisor, or address issues you're experiencing in the workplace. You can do that with your coworkers directly, go to your supervisor. Your branch leadership team is always available, whether another director or the executive director of your branch. And as always, if you feel things are not being addressed, the Human Resources Department is always available. When we follow our open communication policy, it aligns to our core values and allows us to live out our mission. The Y exists to strengthen the foundations of our community. We do this through our 3 areas of focus: youth development, healthy living, and social responsibility. When people think of the Y, it's often the youth development piece that comes to mind first. They recall that they learned to swim at the Y growing up, or they have children who participate in our youth sports programs. It is important that we as an organization help take care of and protect the children entrusted in our care. One way we do this is by having no interaction with minors outside of the Y that we've met inside of the Y. What that means for you as a staff person is that if you meet a child or their parents inside of the Y and they ask you to do something for them, maybe they want you to babysit so they can have a date night, maybe they think you're a great swim instructor and they'd like swimming lessons at their home, we ask that you don't interact with those minors or spend time with them outside of the Y if your relationship started inside of the Y. This helps protect you as an individual and the Y as an organization. If you think that you need to spend time with a minor you met in the Y outside of the Y, you have to have written permission and signed authorization from our CEO.
Hello, we're going to go over incident and accident procedures. First, let's define incidents and accidents. An incident is defined as a non-accident situation bearing documentation. An example is a child is bitten by another child. So let's say that Susan is bitten by Anthony. A separate report is required for each participant in the incident. So if there's an incident report for Susan, it would say that Susan was bitten by another child. For Anthony, it would say Anthony bit another child. For an accident is defined as anything resulting in injury during the performance of a typical activity. An example is a child falls while playing basketball and scrapes their knee. Only one report is needed for the entire accident. So if there's 3 participants involved in the accident, only one report is required. Now let's talk about the actual form. The form is the same for both incidents and accidents. Fill it out completely and legibly. Note that we live in a very litigious society and that this very document could be a courtroom document. So it's very important to complete it legibly and as clear as possible. The victim and/or parent guardian, depending on the age, must complete the report. And it's very important that you let them know about the incident or the accident as soon as it happens. And don't let them leave the building until they read the report and sign it. File the completed report with the supervisor, and in situations where 911 is called, notify the manager on duty immediately. If you have any other questions about these procedures, contact Human Resources. I want to go over incident and accident procedures for injured staff. An additional incident-accident report form must be completed when there is an incident or accident resulting in injury to an employee. First report of injury must be filed within 24 hours and submitted to HR to be considered for workers' compensation. However, by law, you have 30 days to submit the claim to be considered for workers' compensation. Complete the form to the best of your ability and provide it to your supervisor for immediate submission to the insurance company and HR. In situations where 911 is called, always notify the manager on duty immediately. If you have any questions about these procedures, contact Human Resources. Appropriate relationships. We are very relational at the Y, which is what makes our environment feel like family. We foster a strong sense of belonging among our staff, members, and program participants. Please be mindful of what would be deemed an appropriate or inappropriate relationship. For example, a personal trainer should not begin an intimate relationship with his or her client. A staff member should not have an intimate relationship with a program participant or a member. Staff members should not drive to work events together after work if alcohol is included, especially if the staff member is under 21. Be mindful of the 3-year rule regarding intimacy with minors. It is required by law that intimate relationships between a person over 18 and a minor be reported if the adult is more than 3 years older than the minor. If you have any questions, contact your HR office. Harassment policy. Harassment of any kind is strictly forbidden. Every employee has a responsibility to not participate in any form of harassment. but also to report anyone who is not following the policy immediately. If you have any questions, contact your Human Resources Department. Discipline procedure. The YMCA is one of the nation's largest first-time employers. As such, we believe in giving someone an opportunity to learn from their mistakes. We have a progressive disciplinary procedure that usually begins with an oral reminder, a written warning, and if needed, suspension or termination. However, any action that is serious does not have to follow this procedure. If you have any questions, contact your Human Resources Department.